Jesus, after the resurrection, has quite an appetite. He keeps showing up when people are eating. And we've heard about this over the last few weeks, and we'll continue to hear more about this. There are a number of post-resurrection experiences of Jesus that are associated with food. The beginning of our gospel begins today with two of the characters who'd gone on the road to Emmaus, had got up on the day of the resurrection. They'd left Jerusalem, left the community, had gone on a walk to Emmaus to get on with their lives. They meet this guy along the road and they have a meal together. And in the experience of breaking the bread, they recognise Jesus. So Jesus is there at the dinner table. Then we get to today. It's the same day of the day where these two guys had gone to Emmaus. They then come back to Jerusalem to tell everyone what's happened. They're telling their story, and then Jesus comes amongst them. Jesus appears to them. They can't quite work out what's going on. They're dumbfounded, as we're told. They think he's a ghost. He says, "Come and touch me. This is actually me. I'm alive." And just to perhaps emphasise the fact that he is alive, but perhaps also that Jesus has this great appetite, he says, "Give me something to eat." And so he takes something to eat, as we're told. I wonder if it's because Jesus wants us to come to a realisation he's truly alive, and so he eats, or perhaps the experience of dying on the cross meant that Jesus was very hungry. No one's really gone through that experience of being resurrected, so we don't really know what it'd be like after you've been crucified, you've died, you're in the tomb for 3 days and suddenly rise again. What do you feel like afterwards? Well, Jesus is eating. Over the last 12 months and a little bit longer, for many of us, we were told in this country and right around the world to not have people into our homes, to not gather together as family, to not to gather together as friends, as networks. And we were quite observant of this. But this is not the way the Christian community is meant to always be. During a time of pandemic, yes, it was necessary for us to create distance. However, the Christian community is known for gathering together, for eating together. Not just going to a canteen or getting a handout of food in a line, but eating together. And Jesus keeps showing up and creating situations where people eat together. He shows up. Our gospel we've had over the last few weeks, the Emmaus, we've had Jesus at Galilee where he provides breakfast. He brings people together to eat, but he also brings people together to talk together. And I think we need to be encouraged to eat together. In our state at the moment, you might have been aware of this, the government has been promoting vouchers that you can all sign up on the Service New South Wales app to go and eat at certain restaurants. You've probably heard about this. If you haven't done it, it's a good thing to sign up for them. But this is not primarily about food. For us as Christians, we should be gathering together to have conversations. Sometimes I talk about with children, but I think it's also important for adults as well, and for us to be reminded of this now, that as Christians, we need to eat together. We need to converse together. We need to have an experience of family and community coming together and entering into that conversation around the kitchen table, around the dining table. I know for myself, living alone, a lot of the meals I eat, I prepare them and I then sit down and watch the footy or watch something else, which is not a great way of eating, because eating is meant to be, the Christian way, is that we gather together. We share something of our hopes and our dreams. And that's sort of what happens when we come to Mass. Before we eat, we converse. We talk about our hopes. We talk about our dreams. We talk about our day. And that's what should happen in our homes. We shouldn't just say, oh, well, there's food in the fridge, put it in the microwave, eat by yourself. If you live together in a household, eat together, converse together. Talk about your hopes and dreams while you eat. And this is what the early Christians did. If you haven't invited someone to your house together, to your house to eat together with you for a while, because of the pandemic, maybe now's the time to have that encouragement. This is what the early Christian community was doing. And Jesus keeps showing up after the resurrection and encouraging people to eat, and he's even eating himself. But Jesus is not just about the food, he's about talking about the hopes, the dreams, the sufferings, the joys of the specific life at that time. And we need to do the same. That's being a Christian. So this week, if you haven't already tried to work out how you get these vouchers, try to work out how to get the vouchers and maybe invite some friends to go and experience a conversation together over a dinner, over a meal, perhaps somewhere in our area. Perhaps also invite some friends to your home. A few years ago, our community was very well known here, but all across Australia, for a program called Dinner for Eight. Some of you might have been part of it over a few years ago, where 8 people within the community would gather together on a regular basis to have a meal every few months or so, from different backgrounds within the parish. And it was a great way of being a Christian community. Not just eating and watching the footy, or eating and watching whatever other silly TV shows on at the moment, but eating with others, conversing with others. This is what Jesus is doing over and over again after the resurrection, and we should be like that as well. Jesus has an appetite and wants to eat, but he wants to eat with people. Let's eat together as community. Let us share our joys, our hopes, our dreams. Let us not be so afraid that we can't gather together for a meal. One of the big steps that we need to do in coming out of the pandemic is being able to gather together as a community, and we're doing that now. But gathering together in the home is the next step as well, where we can put on a little meal or even a big meal to gather together as a Christian community. So let's do this in the coming weeks during this Easter season. Let's be the community that gathers, that eats, that has the appetite of the resurrection to discuss the joys, the hopes, the dreams of our life, of our families, of our communities for the future. In a moment, we'll have our baptisms for the 2 beautiful children who will be baptised today. It's a delight and joy for us to have you here with us today as part of our community. And we're looking very much forward to the lives of faith that will develop in each of these 2 beautiful children. Thank you to the parents, to the godparents, to the grandparents and others who've helped prepare them for today.